Well, here in Spain, it's time to talk to our Brevins Frank's partner, Brett Hanson. How are you doing, Brett?
I'm good, thanks, Howard. A bit hot, but good.
Yeah, I'll ditto that. There's no, no doubt about that. Well, Brett's been a Brevins Frank's financial advisor here in Spain for 20 years now, and this week he's going to give us some advice on what to look for when choosing an advisor. So, Brett, we talk a lot about tax planning, we talk about estate planning, pensions and investments, and the importance of taking personalised advice. But is it fair to say that your first financial planning decision should be which advisor to choose?
I would say so, Howard. Certainly over the last 20 or so years that I've been advising here in Spain, I have found that the majority of British expatriates I've come across aren't necessarily looking to be sold a particular product, but are looking for an advisor or a firm of advisors who can provide ongoing advice specific to their circumstances and aims. So, for example, for British expatriates who may be listening to this broadcast whilst on holiday here in Spain or from their home in the UK, but who may be looking to move to Spain, whether that's in, say, the next 6 months or even the next 2 or so years, well, it could be that what they're seeking is a financial plan which will analyse their current situation and their aims and take them through the steps which should be taken prior to moving to Spain and the steps to be taken once they have moved here, considering the appropriate visas and how their investments and pensions should be structured based on their situation. Such a plan, of course, Howard, would need to take into account their current tax situation in the UK, but also their future taxation in Spain and outline when any assets should be sold or restructured in order to minimise taxation in the UK and Spain. And so, in order to do all of this, you would probably ideally deal with an advisor or firm of advisors who can advise both in the UK and in Spain and who have the specialists to be able to cover cross-border tax planning, pension, investment advice and estate planning advice in the two countries. It would also be beneficial, Howard, if they have local advisors to you whilst you're still living in the UK, but more importantly, local advisors to where you'll be living in Spain in order to receive ongoing advice following the move. And for anyone who has been living here for many years, whilst they may not need the advice about the steps which need to be taken before moving to Spain, from my experience, Howard, most expatriates are still needing a financial plan which takes into account their tax planning and estate planning needs with regards to their property, savings, investments and pensions over both the short and longer term whilst they continue to live here. They are also often concerned about making the right decisions in order to ensure that on their death, their assets are left to their loved ones, whether a partner, wife, husband or children, with the minimum of complications and taxes, particularly with regards to both Spanish and UK inheritance tax. And so the advisor or the firm of advisors you should probably choose should have the skills and technical support to be able to provide the solutions to these investments, pensions, financial planning and estate planning needs. And whether you are moving to Spain or already living here, in both situations, Howard, it's obviously important that any plan is specifically designed around your particular circumstances and objectives, and that this is then being regularly reviewed in order to ensure that this is kept up to date as circumstances change, as do the threats to our wealth, which include changes of government, taxation, legislation, interest rates, inflation, and of course, asset volatility. It's therefore very important to ensure that you have regular reviews with your advisors. And so you would probably want an advisory firm which has the resources to be able to do this and will be around for the long term in order to provide this ongoing advice to yourselves and of course to your loved ones. And whilst this may seem obvious, you should certainly check to see if the advisor or advisors you entrust your life savings with have the right professional qualifications.
So let's look at some of the elements people need to consider when choosing an advisor. Many British expatriates will have a UK advisor who they've been dealing with for some time. But what are the advantages of finding a locally based advisor now that they're not living in the UK?
Yeah, I think using a locally based advisor is very important, Howard. I can totally understand residents living here or wishing to move here wanting to retain their UK advisor who may have provided them with very good advice over many years and who they may have developed a close relationship with, perhaps even becoming good friends. But put into one side regulation for the moment with regards to Brexit and the fact that UK advisors are in most cases no longer able to advise residents in Europe, it really is unlikely that a UK advisor who lives in the UK and will have the majority of their clients in the UK is going to have a thorough understanding of the taxation rules in Spain and keep up with the changes, not just on a national level, but also on a local level, bearing in mind that there are 17 autonomous regions in Spain, each with their own variations with regards to tax and inheritance rules. As you know, Howard, from your involvement in these broadcasts over many years, the tax rules here in Spain are very different to the rules in the UK. And in the same way, I wouldn't even consider providing advice to someone living or planning to live in a country other than the country I live and work in. I just struggle to believe that a UK advisor will know the ins and outs, for example, on Spanish inheritance tax and Spanish succession laws. And if the UK advisor hasn't considered all the rules and potential pitfalls, not just in Spain, but with regards to the regional rules, then undoubtedly it could result in their clients investing in inappropriate investments or paying unnecessary tax, or their beneficiaries having to deal with unnecessary complications on their death. Using a UK advisor who has no understanding of the Spanish rules is very likely going to lead to mistakes. And so the ideal situation would therefore be for your advisor to live locally in Spain and be in a position to understand what it's like to live here and cope with the local bureaucracy and have a deep understanding of the financial planning needs of expatriates here, whilst understanding the Spanish tax regime at both the state and local level. They would need to be able to react quickly and help you make adjustments if your personal circumstances suddenly change, or if there are reforms to local legislation, and this will always be easier to achieve if your advisor is local to you.
Does size matter, do you think? Does the size of the advisory firm make a difference?
Yeah, I believe so, Howard. For example, at Blevins Franks, we're committed to providing all of our UK and EU-based clients with a high-quality local service, which means that across the company, in the various regions we work in, we have partners, private client managers, and paraplanners, and plenty of administration support, all working together in each of our local offices. Our partners and private client managers are highly experienced and fully qualified and regulated to provide British expatriates holistic advice covering financial and estate planning, investment and pension advice. And as our regular listeners will know, Howard, I've often spoken about the importance of regular reviews and the fact that at Blevins Franks we employ private client managers whose sole job is to ensure that all our clients' portfolios, objectives, circumstances and their tax situation are reviewed each year. I think it's important to emphasise here that when I talk about partners and private client managers, I'm talking about them in the plural, because should a partner fall ill, retire or leave, because of our size, we have others already in the office or nearby to be able to continue to look after our clients. And as our firm continues to grow, so we're continuing to take on more partners and private client managers across our offices in Europe. In fact, I believe we now have more than 65 partners and private client managers, all fully qualified and providing client-facing advice across our 25 local offices in the UK and the 7 European countries we advise in. And all our local offices are supported by our administration centre, client services and trust departments in Malta. We have our tax advisory team in London, which have a number of specialist tax advisors providing our clients with cross-border tax advice and keeping our partners and private client managers up to date with any tax or regulatory changes at both the state and local level. And then we have our pension specialists who are qualified to give advice in both the UK and the European countries we advise in. We also, Howard, have our investment committee, which is international and which is supported by our investment services team. And they are tasked with continually reviewing our clients' investment portfolios. They're talking to the various fund managers we use on a regular basis, and they make recommendations as to how the portfolio should be modified or tweaked in order to remain in line with our clients' attitude to risk and to be invested appropriately according to the market cycle and economic data. They also ensure that our portfolios meet the regulations and requirements of the various jurisdictions we advise in. And just one more point, Howard, on why I think on this issue, size does matter. And that's our size also means that we have access to some of the best lawyers available in our respective countries. And so, for example, we were able to plan for Brexit for some time, and we were well prepared with arrangements in place which enabled us to continue to service our clients without interruption post-Brexit. So when we are being approached by expatriates who are wondering what to do now that their UK financial advisors or the institutions they have bank accounts, investments or pensions with have withdrawn a service, we're pleased to be able to say that we are fully authorised to work in the EU and to provide regulated advice on their wealth.
What about how long the firm has been operating and advising expatriates here?
I do think this is an important consideration, Howard, and I would say that in the same way you would probably want a knowledgeable, qualified and experienced doctor to look after your health, likewise, you would want a wealth management firm which has a solid history advising people in a similar situation on your wealth. We are obviously not the only advisors available in Spain, but at Blevins Franks we have been advising UK nationals in Europe for nearly 50 years, with advisors living and working in Spain since the late 1980s. And in Spain, a number of our Spanish advisors have been with us for between 15 and 30 years. I think such longevity does help to provide peace of mind, not only that the firm is very experienced, but also that it will be around for the long term to advise our clients and their families for however long they need us. As you stated at the beginning, Howard, I've been living and working in Spain with Blevins Franks for more than 20 years, and in that time I have seen many other advisors and many other companies come and go.
What about regulation and qualifications? What should we look for in an advisory firm, and what sort of questions should we ask them?
Well, Howard, there's no doubt that experience needs to be combined with qualifications and high professional standards. Finance, investing, pensions, estate planning and taxation are all very technical subjects which require specialist understanding, and so it's important that you ensure that the advisor or the firm of advisors you are using are professionals with officially recognised qualifications and who keep up to date with financial and regulatory changes. For example, if you're living or were living in the UK, most advisors have the diploma in regulated financial planning or an equivalent, and this meets the UK Financial Conduct Authority's qualification requirements. I would say that this qualification really does help to develop an advisor's core technical knowledge and financial planning capabilities, and at Blevins Franks, all of our advisors, whether partners or private client portfolio managers, and in fact even our paraplanners, hold this qualification or equivalent. If you're seeking peace of mind with regards to your wealth, I think there's no doubt that in order to achieve this, there will be a number of things to take into consideration, but one of those would be to choose an advisory firm which abides by national and international regulations and is regulated by a reputable body.
Well, tell us a little more about Blevins Franks now. What's the history of the firm? How large is it? And how do you keep on top of the changing regulatory environment?
Well, Blevins Franks began life in 1975 as a firm providing tax and investment advice primarily to its clients living in the UK from its London offices. But over time, as clients moved abroad, we found that there was a lack of quality advice available for British expatriates moving to Spain. And this was also the case as clients of ours moved from the UK to other European countries such as France, Portugal, Cyprus and Malta. And so over time, offices were set up to provide local advice to British expatriates living in all of these jurisdictions, whilst at the same time, we recruited specialists in each of the fields we were advising in to assist our local offices such as pension specialists, cross-border tax advisors and trust experts. In the 20 years I've been in Spain with Blevins Franks, I've seen the firm continue to grow, and I would say that this growth has been even more rapid since Brexit, as the greater need for British expatriates to obtain advice. And as I've already mentioned, we now have 25 local offices across the 7 countries we are advising in, with over 65 partners and private client managers. and we continue to expand and recruit, currently with over 200 employees. Keeping on top of the changing regulatory environment isn't easy, in that we have to not only keep up with the regulatory requirements in the UK, but in each of the countries we're working in. And so in addition to increasing the number of partners, private client managers and administration support, we also need to have access to good lawyers and have an ever-growing compliance department who have their fingers on the pulses in each of the jurisdictions we work in and who keep up to date with the many regulatory changes across Europe. And the same can be said with changes in tax laws and rates in each of the countries we advise in, and for Spain, each of the regions we have offices in. And so over the years, Blevins Franks has also developed very good relationships with local lawyers, accountants and other specialists who are independent to us, but work closely with us across our local offices around Europe.
Finally, what services does Blevins Franks offer, and what makes you different from other advisory firms?
Well, Howard, I would say that what makes us different from other firms is the fact that we can provide all of the things we've talked about today. We are cross-border tax specialists for British expatriates currently living in the UK but are looking to move to Spain, or are currently living in Spain but want to move back to the UK. That via our local offices, we have highly experienced and fully qualified and regulated partners who can provide strategic financial planning, incorporating tax and estate planning, and investment and pension advice. And because of our size and history, our partners are supported centrally by a number of specialist departments who provide additional value to our clients in these areas. In our local offices, we employ private client managers who are here to ensure that our clients receive regular reviews, and with the support of our administration departments, both centrally and locally, we're here all to ensure that our clients are looked after and continue to have peace of mind.
Excellent. And of course, I suppose right in the middle of all this wheel is the website.
Yes, I mean, you can get plenty of information about us from our website, and you can also see where our local offices are, and if you wish to contact one of the local offices in order to get a complimentary first meeting. And our website is blevinsfranks.com.
Many thanks, Brett.
Nice talking to you. Take care now.